if you look at Siam newspaper, like several days ago, there was another kind of a big headline saying that the military is ready. They're ready for the next one. Okay. So some people said that not really ready for Padilu, but they're ready for Padiwan. Okay. So thanks everyone for coming to this event, and very thankful for the organizer of this conference, the Thai Study Conference, International Study, the International Thai Study Conference, for giving us these opportunities. And we also would like to warmly welcome all the security officers in the rooms, both undercover and the official ones. And as Ajahn Pinkaew really emphasized in her Facebook that please register yourselves to get all the privilege of free food and the translation service. Okay, so we can accommodate you. Okay, and we have 5. I'm not sure it's paper, but statements or something to say, okay, in this event. And I will start first with the issue of the rise of people state and 99% democracy. But actually, my aim is to set a little bit of background, to give you a little bit of background for the talk. And what's the next? What's the second one?
By the order would be Ajahn Yukti.
Ajahn Yukti will talk about the right-wing intellectual, right?
And anti.
Is it too strong? Anti-democracy Academy. Okay, it's an official name, huh? Then Ajahn
Thai Artworld.
Ajahn Pandit will talk about the Thai Artworld writer. Okay. Then Ajahn Pinkaew.
Tyrell first.
Ajahn Tyrell will talk about the urgent histories, and Ajahn Pinkaew. Okay. So we have around 10 minutes for each of the speakers.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure that you will go for 15.
Alright.
So let's say 10 minutes. So let me start with my talk first. Okay. This is. Okay.
You yourself.
Okay. I'm not very familiar with this program. So the issue is the rise of the people's state, or Pracharat, and the 99% democracy in Thailand. Okay. So let's start with this slide. If you look at the map of the coup d'etats in the world, right, this is very old map because it's before 2014, right? Thailand ranked number 4, so approximately we have the coup around, depend on the way you count it, right, 13 to 18 times, right? And the cartoons love to say that this is a solution to the political deadlock. Okay, so this is our family affairs, Prayut Janocha. So let's start with the roadmap. Okay, this is the roadmap of Thailand. Okay, the military is always talk about the roadmap, that everything will be stick to the roadmap. But that's very interesting roadmap because I think it's very clear that this is a very old roadmap in the sense that they don't give you the real time of it, right? So when, right? Roadmap, sometimes we talk about roadmap, but not about when, right? It's okay, you're gonna get there, right? So that's the sense of the map, right? A very type 2-dimensional map, right? Now people are going to like GPS, right? And Google Map, you know even alternative route to your destination and the time, and they even warn you Right? How many minutes you need to go home, and you will reach home in how many hours, right? So, but this is a typical way that the military answer us. Okay, that's a road, okay, but they're shifting the time all the time, right? So let me give you a little bit of summary of the Thailand political roadmap. Okay, started from May 2014, the coup, and we have the interim constitution with the Article 44. Right, the Article 44 is a Thai style martial law. Right? That's to very simple way. Okay, we say we don't have any more martial law, but that's when the Article 44 function even more than the typical martial law, because you don't need to talk about it anymore. You cannot bring the case back to the court. Okay, and even now we have the constitution, right? The Article 44 is still in place, and the junta always use it. Okay, and August last year, right, we got a referendum of the constitution. So the constitution has been engineered mostly by the junta and its alliance for 2 years. Okay, and then unfortunately we have the event of the death of the king, the King Rama IX, 2016. Okay, then that's one of the reasons of the prolonged announcement of the constitution. And then finally, the new constitution has been approved by our king, our present king. Okay, and then after that, there's a little bit of modification, but well, as the government said, it's basically none of your business. It's the business of, it's the only amended the part that has something to do with the power of the king. Okay, so then we expect to have the royal cremations of King Rama IX, which probably some people say that is part of the reasons why the roadmap has been extended a little bit. But right now we still have no idea, right, what's the precise day of the election. Okay, it's someday we're gonna be there. Okay, so people expect to be around March to November next year. Okay, sorry, so the time is not this year, the time is next year. Okay, sorry for this, but well, there's certain pressure on it because of the framework in the constitution. Okay, so that right now it's preparing a lot of the law that has something to do with the full process of, for example, elections, political parties, and several things. So that's part of it. This is the main argument. Usually people talk about what happened as a transition to democracy, but in fact it's a transformation to the new regime. I think that's the key. Okay, they talk about it as a transition, right? But it's not a transition back to democracy for sure. It's a transformation to a new regime, an uncharted territory which we're not so sure what's gonna be. But the transformation itself has started since day one of the coup. There's a lot of structural change in several structure of the government and so many things. So my main message is that the junta has learned the lesson very well from the previous coup. One of the people who really work with the junta, Pisanu Sudanam, said that อย่าให้เสียของ right? Which actually different than the usual norm of the coup, right? The coup normally will say that, well, we're gonna make the coup very quick and then we will return back to the normal time. This time there's nothing to do with the return back to the normal time. It's something moving to the future, but not very clear. But for sure, they really learn it. Okay? And the period that they've been working now is more than the average time of the modern transitional period of the modern coup. If you look back into the 80s, the 90s. Okay? And I would like to focus on two issues, which is the people's state and the 99% democracy. Okay, and I think the key message that the reasons that the military learned it very well is that they really try to rework on the concept of demos or people. Right? So they try to find an alternative to demos or democracy. Right? So they try not to say that this is authoritarian. They try to say something else. So they try to go beyond the dichotomy of democracy and authoritarian. So they're not saying that, oh, we are good authoritarian. They try to invent a new term. They try to work on something that in a very serious way. It doesn't mean that they're right, but they've been working harder than accepting simply that we are authoritarian and so on. Okay? So they try to rationalize their way of ruling. Okay, so the concept of people state and the 99% democracies show that they're working on the political economy network and develop the new anti-democratic ideology. Okay, the Pracharat. So Pracharat become new strategies, right? One of the interview with the sheriff Nayamper saying that people state has been put into every government project. ใส่คำว่าประชารัฐไปในทุกโครงการ Okay. So ยุทธศาสตร์ประชารัฐ came from the national anthem. Okay. But if you really look at the debate in the history, in fact, the original concept was ประชาธิปไตย but the composer changed it into ประชารัฐ. So the military didn't care that it actually came from Pracha Thipatai and actually came from the 1932 revolution. So they just changed it. Okay, and if you look at the chart, right, they emphasize on Prachachon. Yes, but if you look at the picture, Prachachon and เจ้าหน้าที่ของหน่วยงานรัฐ okay, the government staff.But they have to be the order from the central government, right? But then, well, Prachachon do have a room for participation, but not going up to the center, right? You can give your idea to the field staff, and the field staff will deliver the message to the center. Okay, so this is not democracy. Okay, but this is another kind of structure.So, I have 4 observations on this. Okay, so the Pracharat is some kind of they increase the budget of the activity of bureaucracies, right? They change so many names of the public project, right? That people call it ประชานิยม to ประชารัฐ like โครงการบ้านประชารัฐ is developed from Thaksin's the บ้านเรื่องอ่างทอง okay, they change the project.Okay, and the key issue is that the Pracharat means unities between state and the people, not people state. So you don't own the state, right? State means center of unities. So it corresponds with the 12 Prime Minister Commandment, right? ค่านิยม 12 ประการ for children.And the brand new 10 social contract that just came out yesterday. So the military gather a lot of the idea for Brongdong for reconciliation, and it came out with the 10 points that you need to sign the MOU with, basically. And the first one is unity. Okay. So there's no place for the politicians and elected political system in administrations.Okay, so you increase the budget to the bureaucracy. The bureaucracy delivers service to the people. That's Pracharat. Okay, and also you have the new alliance between state and big business to foster economic development in the rural area. Okay, so that's another part of Pracharat. So they create the new alliance with business network. Then the so-called 99% democracy. So let's hear.The speech of the Prime Minister a little bit. You need to get a sense of it, how he speaks his mind.
ที่ท่านนายกนั้นได้พูดถึงเรื่องของการเดินหน้าทางการเมืองค่ะก็ระบุว่าจะต้องเดินหน้าเรื่องของการยกร่างรัฐธรรมนูญนำไปสู่การเลือกตั้งค่ะ
เอาล้มล้ ร่างประชาธิปไตยทุกอย่างเราเป็นประชาธิปไตยอยู่แล้ววันนี้จะไป99.99%ใครจะว่าใครจะอยู่เลยก็ได้ผมก็ไม่โกรธอะไรใครเพียงเราจะมาต่อต้านกันนะพอแค่นี้ไม่ได้นะวันนี้ถ้าเป็นประเทศอื่นนะเขาทำแบบเนี้ยพวกคุมหน้ามันติดคุกหมดแล้ว
Okay, so if you even think about you kind of opposing the government, of you probably in jail. Okay, thanks for his generosity. Don't be more grateful than this. Okay, in English, our country is nowadays 99% democratic. I never prohibit anybody from criticizing me. Just don't oppose me. If you were in other country, you would be probably in jail or executed by shooting. Okay. So this is a cartoon from Thailand, right? We are 99.99% democracy. So, but the police kind of arresting people who throw this pamphlet. Okay. Okay, freedom in the world, Thailand. So we are not free. Okay, this score is not very good one. Okay, so the issue is why the 0.01% non-democratic amendment is such a big deal. Why it's such a big deal? So here is what I'm trying to work out these kind of equation to understand the new speak. Right, the new speak of this regime. Okay, so there's a lot of people who collecting the grocery of the Prayut regime, right? Pracha, Thai, Asian correspondent. But I think this is the key. Why this is the key issue is that for the junta, freedom of speech, right? Freedom of expression lead to instability. It led to instability before. And the instability led to disunity and crisis. Okay? So, for them, things that disunite the people is evil. Okay? And suppression is the law enforcement. Suppression from the government, from the junta, from the military. Military suppression is the law enforcement. บังคับใช้กฎหมาย Okay? And บังคับใช้กฎหมาย is equal to order การรักษาความสงบAnd for them, order is equal to peace. Okay. So if you see the junta since since the 90s, right? They copy from the Burmese one, right? The same concept of peace, right? Peace for the military, right? การรักษาความสงบเท่ากับการรักษาสันติภาพ So junta is a peacekeeper. It's a peacekeeping operation with their own people.Okay, so peace equal to unity, and unity is equal to รักสามัคคี I want to further on the concept of รักสามัคคี that has been around for so many years, right? So to make people calm, to make people quiet is peace. Peace is peace is unity. Okay, so unity is the foundation of the country.And foundation of the country ประเทศไทยรวมเรื่องเนื้อชาติเชื้อไทย is the first sentence of the national anthem. Okay, so once you still sing the national anthem, you get locked into this ideology every morning. Okay, so this is how they work out on the justification of the coup, and this is the lesson that they learn.Right, and we have sing it every day. So we singing the junta realm every day. Okay. My last slide. Let me emphasize we are transforming into the uncharted territory, but we see certain side of it. Right? The junta and the alliance learn the lesson, not us. Okay. So the way out is how can we improve democracy institutionally?Right, and also ideologically to have a dialogue, a very closer dialogue with the unity trope. Right, so we cannot just say that democracy is good, but we really need to make democracy work with unity, with peace, with the way that they trying to deal with it. Okay, so sorry that I use a lot of time. Let's move to the next one. Okay, so next one will be Ajahn Yukti.
We do the musical chairs. That would be. I try to have a reputation of being over time. It's not out yet. I start with these photos. It's a book, it's a cover of the book. Well, I have more, but not many. I'm not like too biased to just point out Chulalongkorn. Well, I have only 3 points to make, or not just like, not really making a point, but I just report what's going on. Well, first, I'd like to talk about the way I classify Thai academics into 4 groups in terms of their positions toward the coup. First, the voluntarily support, the one who voluntarily supports the coup. For example, like this is it's a book cover, so you can buy it at the bookstore at Chulalongkorn University. They're proud of it and still on sale.
I got one.
Yeah. So be quick, be gone real fast. So the one who voluntarily support the coup, like people from Chulalongkorn, from Thammasat University. Okay. เหลืองแดงมาแล้วแดงเหลืองจะรออยู่ไหน As you can read Thai, but if you can't, I'll ask one who can read Thai translate for you. Well, those who support you. Second, maybe we can call them pro-democracy academics. They are those who are under surveillance of the authorities, blocked to get involved, got intimidated, threatened, or arrested. And maybe they are under the control of the university administrators. The junta implements their power through the university administration. I can go into details, lots of stories about that. And those who are who were banned by the anti-democracy who work, their colleagues themselves within the same office. So the first one is the one who support the coup. The second one is the one who against the coup. The third one, I call them the inert ones. Those who are burdened by the audit regulations or the power of the form or the quality controls in quantitative manners or what's going on in these countries. It's a quality control system that we all have to fill the forms and just to report what you're doing. Second, those who have uncertain status. Now that the status of the university professor, they have to be regulated closely to the regulations of the university. So then, in the case of my colleagues at one university, they almost got fired, but got suspended on the basis that they were accused as acting improperly. What does it mean? It's like dressing just like me, it's like not properly dressing, just something like that. You can be fired. So these group of people will be like inert one. They cannot act as they want. And the fourth one is, I call them the confusing ones. The one who never learned the lesson. These kind of the Thai intellectuals, they believe that every government is bad, whether they are elected or they state the coup, they are bad. But we just have to work with them. We just have to sometimes go against them. And then now some of them coming out to protest against the coup. But they are just like, I don't know, maybe you name them, but I call them the confusing one or those who know the lessons. So, second point I want to make is that I ask questions, why does the intellectuals are targeted? A lot of intellectuals are targeted, especially this coup. Comparing to the last one, I think this is much further in terms of the numbers and the violence that occurs to many. In general, I think Thai academics play lots of public roles, as you can see. We have more public intellectuals than those who are in ivory tower. Or sometimes people say we have too many public intellectuals now. But still, if you want to look at the public intellectual in Thailand, at least I'm just like black and white kind of mindset. You have only two groups. You have two groups, not like, or to say that Thai academics are public intellectuals. One group is the pro-democratic intellectuals, and another is the anti-democratic intellectuals. So, which group of public intellectuals you want to look at? But on the other side, the group of public, I like to focus on the ones who are more radical. So this is the information from iLaws and from on the right from BBC Thai. So see who pro, see who are con to democracy. Well, on the left hand, you can see the statistics of those who are. This is the whole pictures of those who are summoned, and then how many on different states of accusations, different kinds of accusations. And on the right hand, 41 rectors, deans, and the board of committees of the universities. So how many who support the coups, right? Sitting in the cabinet, sitting in the parliament, sitting in the, what is that, to reform the reform committees, so on and so forth. So look at these pictures. I think it's on the left side and on the right side, it's very clear that not just we have like both two kinds of public intellectuals. But why does the intellectuals are targeted? Because I think even though we have fewer or much fewer intellectuals who go against the coups, still they are targeted. I think over the past 10 years at least, like, look at the roles of Nitirat that challenges the junta and also the challenge the status of the upper power. See, I have to self-censor myself not to say that word. In addition to Nitirat, and also we have the committee of the amendments of the Article 112, and so on and so forth. And still another group that is acting now is the Thai Academic Network for Civil Rights. Not only that they are against the military rules, but also I think they can draw so much attention from the public, and it becomes clear that the group of academics are challenging the authorities' powers. So then the junta threatens the intellectual who have potential to mobilize peoples, and the junta suppresses criticism. For example, there's a case of a leader of one group. See, I have to use like common names. I cannot be into details in the proper text. A leader of an academic group were invited for drinking a cup of coffee just recently. The authority requested him not to campaign on Hood Kana Rasadon, the memorial of the 1932 revolution, because it was done by the replacement. This is the authority told him that it was replaced by someone. And then they visit us on time. Once in a while, they went to public talks, public speech, and they will came and take pictures of me. Just not only me, but lots of other people too, especially in Bangkok, and I think it's all over the country. Chiang Mai happens a lot too. So I think because we play some roles and we can draw attention, then we have potential to mobilize the people. Third, why do many Thai academics work with the junta? I think this is the last one. The top-ranked administrators, the individual academics, those who support the junta, why do they do so? First of all, I think they want to maintain what they believe. It's the belief drives lots of things. It moves lots of things. You can see, like, I was being a convener of one, being asked by my colleagues to be a convener of one panel, and I was shocked by the beliefs of the academics who were presenting a paper on to commemorate the event. You know what the event I mean. So to maintain the belief, I was denied to be promoted to work. I was denied to be promoted to work at an institute due to my image of being a racial academic. And also, secondly, they want to maintain their status and to earn a living, which I can understand, but I cannot accept it. Thirdly, to maintain their network. It's the upper middle class pattern-client relations that they have to maintain. Why so? For example, the university rectors during the time before the coup, they are drafting the bills of each university is going to be privatized. Right? The draft bill was in the parliament, still waiting to be passed, and then to fasten to make it quicker, then they cooperate with the junta so that the bill passes just easily without criticism whatsoever. And then they can also change some of the titles, some of the articles in the bill as well, which happens to Thammasat University as well. Okay, it's live now, so we'll see what happens to me later. Then they have to comply with the junta, so then the junta can guarantee their budgets. This is very common, very normal. And also one incident is that recently there is a university, this university is running an international conference. And so then the panel was set, and one of the organizers of the panel is inviting lots of 5 panelists to speak on the topic of rights and democratization. And then once to finalize the conference organization, to finalize it, the rector saw the names of the panelists, and then for one panel on rights and democratization, he saw name of one panelist, and then he remarked, well, is this woman still on accused on the crimes that she was accused. Is she still will have a case in court? Then it was refused by another deans on the panel. So then everything is in control now. But if you resist, it can be it can be negotiated in a way. So and this case can happen all over the country, as you can see. And okay, I think. Well, I just heard this story that during the past 2 years that we have a petition for the release of 14 students who were arrested by the authorities, and then I just heard that in one university the academics who signed the petitions was called up by the director to meet with him because of the request by the authorities behind him. So it happens all over the country, and that's all I have to report.
I loaded my presentation here, but I cannot find one. That's right. The Roundtable.
I got in my head. I got it here. Yeah.
Well, mine is like artwork. First of all, I find it's very hard to imagine what have we come to this point. I think it's very hard to talk about what's going on. But I have said that in other panels that the changing of scenes of Thai art scene is very interesting, and in many ways it's waiting for us to be interpreted or to interpret. So I've been looking at Thai art scene for more than 20 years as an academic who work in the field of contemporary Thai art, and as a political scientist, look at how artists get involved in politics. And talking about politics, there are many layers of politics. For example, joining the politics by voting, by going to be a committee in the parliament or in the National Assembly. That is a very simple way of engaging with politics. But there is another layers. For example, working on the subject of politics. Probably we can call them political artists. And then, you know, in Thailand we have been debating on the idea of art for art's sake in 1950s, and the uprising in 1973, October 14, is the triumph of art for social or art for life. So art is no longer an isolated island that living by themselves, but rather engage closely with politics. And in many ways, artist is also an activist as well. However, after October 6, 1976, many artists fled to join the Communist Party or suppressed their work. they changed their subject of their art into something really simple, something not challenging to the power. And then came again in 1990s that Thai artists look at politics more and more, and even during the last 10 years of political conflicts, Thai artists never hesitate to talk about politics. And in many ways, some scholars in this conference have pointed out, for example, the matter of censorships in film or in arts. Something that I think that there must be something that we can talk about why Thai artwork had turned, and why I said turn, it's a right turn. Of course, talking about left and right may be something very old-fashioned, but there are some elements that I like to say this is a right turn. Okay, so right after 2010 crackdown, there was a big exhibition so-called Imagine Peace made by BACC and the Ministry of Culture, Kurnipit at the time, and Abhinan Poshidanan helped him organize. The exhibition is meant to heal the society as a whole and using artwork to reflect mentalities, accomplishing results that yield positive thought to the future of Thailand. And they said that the recent political crash, which is the crackdown on 2010, has tremendously affected people's state of mind and the confidence of foreign visitors in the country's overall political and economic stability. And so they want art to heal the emotional wounds of the people and to recover Thailand's public image. And of course, Imagine Peace showed the artworks by prominent Thai artists from Thawan Dachani, Dr. Samet Chumsai Ayutthaya, Navarat Pongpaiboon, Angkhan Kalayanapong, Ajahn Prisha Thautong, Sarajan Kitisak Chanrochanakit, Chalermchai Khosipipat, Lerklit Tiravanija, or as known as Wikli. Kamin Lerchai Prasert, Ajahn Parinya Tantisut, for example. And the work by these artists are created under the theme of Imagine Peace, expressing their hope in restoring peace and harmony to Thailand. And this is some example I got from website. I have to confess I wasn't there enough to go to the exhibition by myself because I feel really uncomfortable and I feel something really disturbing to my presence at BACC or Art and Cultural Center. So this is a work by Kamin Lerchai Prasert, who based in Chiang Mai. And he painted on the newspaper. This is of course the shape of skull, and it says the text, before peace prevails, one has to kill greedy, anger, and obsession in himself. So it's really interesting that in the exhibition so-called Imagine Peace, one artist said, let's kill something inside. And there is another very popular artist as well, Yukti Gensaku. And actually I really like her work, but can you interpret her work looking at this particular painting, like as tank and controlled by skeleton wearing a hat, yellow hat, and firing at the sea of red, not the real figure of human being, but there is also a girl floating on the yellow boat here, crying out loud and her teardrops is in the shape of yellow drop. It's very interesting. I don't know much, but this is very interesting, waiting to be interpreted in the future. So another aspect by Navin Ravantekun said he wrote in the same exhibition, he wrote a letter to Montien Bunma, and he said, actually there is currently a huge show called Imagine Peace at the Bangkok Art and Cultural Center. They claim that the aim is to heal our society through art after the recent political conflict that erupted in unexpected violence and bloodshed on the streets of our country. Although I like a few pieces in that exhibition, including your powerful drawing, it is sad to see that artists are being used as a tools for government propaganda. I think it's very a bold statement here. And one critic, David Tay, put an article in Thai in the Art magazine. He says, no Thai artists escape from this bullshit. So everyone thought Unite Tanki to be, the laundry machine for the crackdown in 2010. And of course, after 2010, there were a series of political conflicts on the street of Bangkok. And we have seen that in many ways, the government changed, right? After a visit crackdown, he resigned and called for general election, and Yingluck Shinawatra became the prime minister. And then there was the attempt to pass the bill, blanket amnesty bill, and that lit the anger of people of Bangkok, both red shirt and yellow shirt, and people who normally conduct their life turned against Yingluck government. And it turns out that after a series of their protests, there are groups that call for freezing Thailand for a while and then start reforming before election, right? That is the campaign right after Yingluck called for general election on February 2nd, 2015. And it's very interesting that Thai artists think that joining the PDRC is not wrong at all. It's just something that they have to do, and this is really problematic according to me, or my observation. In this, probably you might know somebody here. This is Suti Kunavishyanon. This is Amarit Chusuwan, the head, the dean of the Department of Fine Art, Chulalongkorn University, and this is the banner, say Longmu at Urupong Junction. So Amarit Chusuwan explains. Sorry, I didn't have time to transcribe in English, but I like to read here that first of all, I didn't want to join in the name, in the title of Silpin, or artist. But when we came out, we realized that there is something we can use to be our weapon. That is artworks. I then persuaded some friends, colleagues, and younger friends that should we do something in the length of 100 meters by using Thai artists, around 100 person. Would you like to join us? And I got many people came to me and joined my project. So we all here, not only me from Chulalongkorn University, but also national artists, ศิลปินแห่งชาติ ศิลปินรุ่นเยาว์ young artists, even graffiti artists. So David Tay say, no one escaped from Tanki. Of course, we see here, right? ถ้าไม่อยากหัวทิ่ม if you don't want to turn the country upside down, you join us, right? And Wasan Syndicate, of course, he is a regular. And their attempts became something so-called การต่อสู้อย่างมีสุนทรียะ fighting with acidity, not just like lecture, with blunt music of Luktung, right? So the picnic labyrinth, that's what they call themselves, right? And this is a group exhibition made by the group so-called Art Lane. They made altogether 9 events prior to the 22nd of May 2015 coup d'etat. And this art street of Bangkok, occupied by people who love this country so much, who fought for democracy, who fought for violation of human rights, because Yingluck government violate basic human rights. This one is we opposed to the blanket amnesty bill, and the other one has saying reform before election. Sorry, I didn't take that picture here. But the activities of artists on the street of Bangkok are at large. We can observe that. You should not be chui. You not stand still. If you are Thai, you should fight for. And this is what something portrayed by that prominent scholar. So after that, of course, some artists donate their work to Pacific City Club, where Subanswater works as the manager and put things on auction for, Radongmen or fundraising for Muniti, Gopobas or PDRC. So this is my observation that those artists who join political movement, both the PAD, People's Alliance for Democracy, or Somthi Lintongkun, and those four figures, including the PDRC, might want to only eliminate those they hate, which is Thaksin, Chinawat, and their his nominees. Because if those artists want to fight for democracy, they should have fought now. It's been 3 years. They kept silent, right? And recently there were two art galleries that read by soldiers and took down paintings and photos from 2 exhibitions, right? And there was no voice. There has been no voice from art community up until now. Where are those PDRC artists who love for the nation, who fought for democracy and human rights? Of course, I will wait. May give us an answer, right? Here, it was sorry, right? This is a painting by my beloved friend Roundtable. In this picture, in this painting at my young contemporary art gallery at Samkampang, the heart of Thaksin, the district, the very district of Thaksin. Anyway, in this painting we have seen a lot of things in Thai art scene. It's just a part of the gigantic painting. Here is Montien Bunma, and this is Kun Bitiya, who's sitting here as well. Someone here, maybe Pet Osathanukro, and this is Apinan Hosyanan in the white suit. And this is Wasam City Kid. All together are pointing by Ivory's hand. So just to paraphrase what David Tay say, no one escaped from Tamki. And this is me for your. And last slides by Wasam City Kid. He posted on his Facebook. Saying that, you know, เปรตบ้าทำรัฐประหารเพื่อตัวเองและนายทุนชั่วช้าสามาน and these are the figure, another figure. He say, let the bad people do some bad thing, and then we will uprise against him. Those who made a coup d'etat, took power from people. It's not by me, all right? Those officials who are here, and I didn't say this. And when I came back to the point that where should we go from now? If the Thai artists want to fight for so-called democracy, fight for human rights, they should confess what is, you know, is really very beginning of reconciliation project. They should accept the fact that their activities support and pave the way for coup d'etat. And of course, if they show their support for democracy, they as like they did during PDRC campaign, they should start doing something right now. Thank you.
Okay, so Ajahn said at the beginning that some of us made that these are papers or statements, and I was just thinking that I think the way I would summarize the comments that I want to make could perhaps be a manifesto for reading and writing history. So many of you will be familiar with Ajahn Phongchai Vinichagun's 1994 essay, The Changing Landscape of the Past, New Histories in Thailand since 1973. In the article, he argues that the toppling of the military dictatorship by the students and people on the 14th of October 1973 profoundly challenged existing histories and existing ways of comprehending the past. He wrote, quote, "Historical studies became a center of intellectual interest for all disciplines, as well as an arena of ideological struggles with dramatic effect. The conventional knowledge of the past was challenged and negated. A new past was needed." And in his article, he traces several kinds of new ways of comprehending the relationship between the present and the past, noting that together this constellation of new histories resulted in a reshaping of, quote, "the landscape of the Thai past." I think many of us have observed, particularly actually in the last 6 or 7 months or so, that in the years since the 22nd of May 2014 coup, the past has also been reshaped and has upended what many people thought they knew about both the past and how it moves through the present towards the future. Who would have imagined another coup? Who would have imagined the kinds of authoritarianism that exist in the present? I think many, I'll put it this way, I certainly would have never imagined it. And the reason I think why there's a new vision of the past emerging and an urgent need for a new vision of the past to emerge is not because, as in October of 1973, that people have been able to smash the study of the past open or wrest the pen of writing history from the rulers or elite historians or court historians, but in fact because the rulers, in the form of the NCPO and a host of others, are trying to tightly close the lid upon the past and on critical analysis in general. We can see this in a number of public seminars and discussions which state authorities have intervened in or shut down, which according to ILAW's latest statistics is at least 156. Even in those events which are allowed to be held, the authorities are often present to surveil those speaking and those listening. I'm sure many people in the room have had the experience of their photograph being taken simply because they went to go listen to a particular seminar. You don't have to speak to become a person of interest to the state. Over the past 3 years, this has become usual, but it's not normal. And I think actually part of the way in which we can see how usual it is that many people begin their comments or their seminars or their events by greeting the security officers in the room as we did today. That's a sign of how ordinary and yet not ordinary this has become. The attempt to shut down critical analysis can also be seen in the record number of Article 112 prosecutions, which was one of the figures that Ajahn Yukti showed earlier, which ILAW notes is at least 82. The number, of course, may be much higher, but 82 is the number of prosecutions which are known to lawyers and activists. And the attempt to shut down critical analysis is also echoed in other prosecutions that hundreds of people have faced for exercising freedom of expression and political freedom, as well as the constant harassment, surveillance, and intimidation that many activists and intellectuals face, either from state officials wearing green, by rectors, by heads of department, by a range of state officials. Within this context, writing history or making sense of the relationship between the past and the present and simultaneously imagining the future is urgent both analytically and politically. And I recently read Arundhati Roy's new novel, The Ministry of Utmost Happiness, which, even though it's a novel, is kind of an amazing piece of political analysis, political and social analysis as well. And in the very last pages, she notes that, quote, "History would be a revelation of the future as much as it was a study of the past." So I want to turn just to briefly highlight three pieces of the past and the relationship between the present and the past that have become newly relevant and newly examined since the coup, in a sense to highlight what I think it would mean to write new histories. So most recently, the end of the absolute monarchy and the transition to constitutional monarchy on the 24th of June 1932 has again become of profound interest. And in a sense, it might be possible to say that one of the reasons for this has been precisely the attempt to erase that history, so that the disappearance of the original Mukdawijitra has prompted a significant amount of interest in the events of the 24th of June 1932 that may not have existed before. It's been all over the newspaper, so it's widely circulated. I would suggest that in the removal of the original, or I know it's not the original, it's sort of the new original King in the road, is a signal to pay more attention. The fact that there was an attempt to remove it is why everybody should be interested in it and should learn more about it. The two other pieces, historical events that have become, I think, both recently significant and also incredibly important work has been done around them are more recent, are of the last 40 years. One is the 6 October 1976 massacre, largely due to the remarkable work of Patpon Pudhong and Adan Pungtong Pawakapan to examine existing and available historical evidence anew, and to learn and examine what's known and also what's not known, and to query why it's not known, even though the evidence is available. And then the third moment that I want to highlight and say, I think, is worth historians and students of history and ordinary people paying lots of attention to, is the violence of April-May 2010. Many people will have noticed, or if you haven't, I would urge you to read it, that an English summary English translation of the People's Information Center report was recently released in English, and it's freely accessible online, easy to download. And it's the original long report in Thai is phenomenal. The English translation is phenomenal and significant. Anyone who teaches about political violence, whether in Southeast Asia or across the world, I urge you to use it in your classes. Your students will thank you both because it's incredibly well written, but also because they don't have to pay for it. But the reason actually why I think it's so significant and why it's worth paying attention to is something I realized when a colleague in the office next to me at the ANU asked me about the report. Someone had sent him the link, and he said that, it's 2017, this is violence that happened in 2010, why does this still matter? And the reason I sort of snapped quickly at him, and I said, well, it still matters because the people who were responsible for the massacre haven't been prosecuted yet, and the attempted prosecution of them was shut down very rapidly and in sort of a very strange way, legally. And then reflecting on that later, I realized that's exactly why it matters. That's exactly why it should be paid attention to. So I want to conclude by adding sort of number 4 to this list, and a call for a relentless recording of the present and what is taking place, including the very constriction of the space for critical analysis and the specific ways in which that happens. And within this category, I would include things big and things small. So the kinds of laws being passed, and the government of General Prayut Chan-o-cha is very busy. They pass many laws and issue many orders. One could spend one's entire day keeping track of what comes out in the Ratchagitan-o-Beksa, but it's worth doing. Just to not miss anything that comes through. Also, the kinds of intimidation, threats, illegal arrests, and other rights violations that are taking place. The presence of intelligence officers in academic meetings and how they conduct themselves. It's also worth paying attention and recording the care with which anyone who speaks in public, even if they're speaking in English, takes with the words they choose, because there's a risk in what one says. Of course, there are some accounts that cannot be disseminated now of what's taking place, because it would be too dangerous either for the author or for those being written about. But I would just make it, just knowing my own, how terrible my own memory is, and imagining that I'm not alone in that. I would make a call for as much to be written down as possible so it's not forgotten. Particularly because if there is a more just future, which at this particular moment is perhaps as difficult to imagine as another coup may have been in, let's say, the middle of 2012, there will eventually be a future without dictatorship. And yet this moment will be important to remember. So I just want to close with reference to the two passages that are behind me. Two thinkers whose work I return to often, Suport Dantragun and Howard Zen, who were writing continents apart and in different languages, but were making very similar kinds of calls. Suport, this is his definition of history of Pravatizad from his People's Lexicon of Politics, which he wrote in prison in the late 1950s, but it wasn't published until 1985. And Howard Zen, who wrote a new kind of US history. And this is from the 2005 edition that he actually was writing in the 80s. But they both call on us to focus our attention precisely on those without power, on ordinary people and those whom power would like to crush. And I think the reason why it's important to pay attention to what ordinary people do is because it is with that the future, to whom the future belongs and to which the future will be.
I have three stories to tell. I'm going to read so that we save time. The letter, the camp, and the attitude adjustment. In the evening of April 30th last year, the Secretary of the Faculty of Social Science, the Institute where I work, and the organizer of this conference, called me on the phone, informing me that there was a letter faxed to me from the 33rd Military Circle inviting me for a meeting on May 3rd. The letter, addressing the president of the university, stated that the army would like to invite an employee of the CMU to come to the military camp to provide necessary information. As we all know, letters circulating within a bureaucratic office, especially from a high office to a lower unit, are usually signed by a superior administrator or relevant official, along with a command or direction for further action. Interestingly, this letter did not have any trace of such acknowledgement. The only sign of the university receiving this letter was a stamp that on the top right that indicated the date and time of letter reception. The letter of invitation is a euphemism of the military order of attitude adjustment process. As one military official later told me, the military used the term invitation because they wanted to treat a professor politely. He continued, and I quote, "But we stated clearly that the invitation was carried out according to the NCPO order number 3/2558. The order that allowed the military official to arrest anyone who are deemed threat to the nation. Historically, authoritarian regime and service by academic bureaucrats had long had an intimate relationship. Following the 2014 coup d'etat, 9 countries' top university rectors, including the one from Chiang Mai University, as Ajahn Yukti already mentioned, joined the National Legislative Assembly established by the NCPO, the only parliamentary body of Thailand for the period of the military rule. Most universities received this opportunity with delight. Some of them congratulated the occasion publicly on the university website. And here's CMU, our beloved CMU. The incorporation of academic institutes into the sovereign body has their own peculiar effects. On the one hand, university administrators have now become the organ of the sovereign, taking roles of control and surveillance on behalf of the military junta, preventing the activities that are deemed political and coordinating with the army in suppressing such activity. Surveillance by military personnel who would come to take photos and jot notes at academic seminars for free, including this one, have become common. In some cases, on military request, university staff might take photos at academic seminar and conference and send the information to the military networks in the area. Academic activities that are considered political could be turned down by the university administrators or otherwise ordered to ask permission from the army office. The university administrators, of course, deny the close tie to the junta regime, but like it or not, Thai universities have been turned into a military barrack. The passing down of the army letter from the letter to me, without any signature of the university administrator, can be comprehended only if we take the military and university as the same unit. It is an internal letter from the superior asking the subordinate to come to the supreme office for a meeting and to provide information. The university and the military camp are, in this sense, the continuing space of the state of exception, where the boundary between the university and the military rules have become obscure. On the camp. On May 3rd, I and two other friends arrived at the 33rd Military Circle at around 9 a.m. We were transported to a room inside the military compound, and this was to me the second time. Inside the room, a long table with 2 row seats was set in the middle of the room. A video camera stood a few feet away from the table. After an hour of waiting, a group of high-ranking army officials and police entered the room. As expected, this was not an invitation to provide information to the army, but an order for interrogation regarding the activity I and my friends conducted at the Chiang Mai Thaphat Gate a few weeks earlier, the first slide that you saw. The aim of the meeting was to ask me to admit the crime of violating the military rule of peacekeeping in the area. As the army official put it, and I quote, "I don't mind you do your activity anywhere in Thailand, but this is Chiang Mai, the area in our responsibility." The conversation went on for 2 hours without reaching any agreement. At one point, I decided to change the theme of the conversation, as it was not going anywhere. I asked the commanding general how would he like the society to remember the army and himself. Politics is temporary, I said, but memory about the army can last for generations. Abusive treatment towards people will eventually make people remember him as a tyrant, even after his retirement. There was a brief silence in the attitude adjustment room. Then the Deputy General answered that the army has never wanted to be enemy to people. However, he continued, we must follow the order. The idea of creating a political space where judicial order is suspended and people as biological body being constantly purified is not new in the history of Thai politics, but has developed in several forms. If some of you here remember, Galunyathev Center or Re-Education Camp, a camp under the Internal Security Operations Command during the 1980s, is one example of a political space that was established as part of the military attempt to combat communist insurgency, with political measures over military action. Following the order 66/2523, the amnesty law was issued to allow defectors to leave the insurgent movement. But before being allowed to rejoin the society, one must enter the zone of indistinction, where the political life was transformed into a new sovereign subject. The aim of the Galunyathev Center was to decontaminate the political body of the communist insurgent, liberating such body from the devil of the communist doctrine. The attitude adjustment camp, however, carries on the legacy of the Galunyathep Center, but has been used in a larger scale with a far-reaching operation. It was a space of exception as much as a political tool to silence the dissenter and neutralize the opponents of the government. Those who were invited to the camp include people who are against the junta, such as a Pheu Thai, lecturer, student activists, journalists, academics, or as Prayut explained to reporters, everyone whose comments caused division. So attitude adjustment or re-education camps are also, attitude adjustment camp is not also limited in the center or in the north, but we can find that in the Muslim south of Thailand as well. ILAW estimated that ever since the seizing power of the junta government, there are at least 902 people were summoned to the attitude adjustment camp, and repeated entrance of the camp is common. Like myself, this was the second time. As a political strategy, the camp and its operation is differentiated by different political positions of the target. Basically, the military classifies a group into two main groups, the non-hardliner and the hardliner. The non-hardliner is further categorized into two types. Those who do not have the direct potential of leading mass mobilization, and those who have direct influence over mass and public, such as politicians and venture leaders. Most academics would be detained in a camp briefly. Some might only be invited to quote-unquote have coffee with the military or police officials and then released. However, the politicians and journalists who are defined as non-hardliner with quote-unquote influence would be placed under a different program with a period of 3 to 7 day detention. The task spokesperson and supervisor of the Attitude Attachment Program told the Thai news agency that the program, which is dubbed Training Curriculum for Leaders in Creative Nation Building, is designed to adjust the attitude of the trainee with a curriculum that lasts for several days, depending on the ability of the trainee to develop his or her own attitude. At the end of the program, trainees have to sign an MOU, agreeing to stop all political activities that would instigate conflict. Violation of the MOU means a trainee will have to retake the course again or else face a jail term. The group, which is identified as hardliner, enter the attitude adjustment in different manners. This group is considered by the military as a dangerous threat to the security of the regime. Most of them are commoners with unimportant social status. Some are believed by the army to have direct connection with or receive direct command from Thaksin. So unlike the leader of the region or high-ranking politician, this group of people often receive ill treatment with physical and psychological torture. The arrest of Gritsuda remember him, is a case in point. Gritsuda was an activist associated with the UDP and was responsible for providing assistance to people arrested and detained from the political violence during 210. Detained for 29 days. She was then released by the army as a result of the international pressure. Now, after fleeing the country to seek a political asylum in Europe, Gritsuda revealed to international human rights organizations that from during the first week of detention, she was blindfolded and hands bound 24 hours. She was also beaten several times during the interrogation and suffocated from the plastic bag that placed over her head until she lost consciousness. So throughout the years of the military state establishment, anxiety over national security has predominated and become the underlying rationale for the junta political operation. The more anxious the state has become, the more attitude adjustments have been used to pacify the state's anxiety. And such anxiety has in turn justified the formalization of the camp, and thus normalized the state of exception. At the same time, this state of exception is highly class differentiated. Living a bare life of below class dissenter are definitely more painful and torturous. For those who are classified as anti-monarchy political instigator, the attitude adjustment can be even more violent and permanent. As the camp has turned into a prison, the status of political dissenter has been transformed into a criminal. And you know, Pai Dao didn't make his kids. So my last topic, the inflation of attitude adjustment. Throughout 3 years of the military regime, attitude adjustment has been inflating. 1,000 people have been invited to have conversations with the military. Many of them have signed MOUs, but no one seemed to care. Some of the dissenters kept going back into the camp and spent many weeks for the attitude adjustment process. Pichai Nariptapan, the former energy minister from Pheu Thai party, was summoned to the military camp for 7 times for sabotaging the regime with false and biased comments. And Wattana, everyone knows him, I believe, Muang Suk, the former commerce minister, also from Pheu Thai party, was summoned by the authorities for 4 times. The last time for criticizing Thailand's draft constitution on social media. And similarly, student activists such as Pai Dao Din was summoned several times before being charged with the Decree 112 and has been eventually imprisoned. While the number of summoning keep increasing and people were reinvited into the camp, the attitude adjustment has gradually lost its meaning. Going to the camp has become an act of defiance and a challenge to the junta state. In the 5th time of the arrest, Wattana Muang Suk posted on his Facebook that no matter how many times you have arrested me and tried to indoctrinate me in the name of the attitude adjustment, I will vote against this draft constitution. And he means a military constitution referendum. By doing so, instead of conforming to the state-imposed state of exception by simply submitting their bodies to the state, many dissenters choose to endure their political life and refuse to be transformed easily into their life. Many continue to call for freedom from the political confinement and deny the crime they did not commit. As the state of emergency has been fabricated and the regime of authoritarian state perpetually extended, the camp, despite its proliferation, has become a national absurd. Similar to the Friday night stand-up comedy of the regime leader, which, by the way, has no audience. The attitude adjustment camp, while failing to produce any bad life, has turned into nothing but a national joke. Despite its propagation, the efficacy of the camp has ceased to be operative and become another redundant gimmick of the stupid military regime.
I think we have like 5 minutes for discussions.
So it's a round table. Any question from the floor?
I've got a little bit information to add on the idea of Prachara, but for the sake of my future research, I could not reveal the name of the informant yet, because 6 days ago I just had an interview with the one who came up with the idea of originating the word Prachara and sell it to the army. He is the like a right-hand man of the close retainer of the palace. I cannot name him yet, but the original idea is that the old catchword is not working anymore. So they need to find a new catchword for the society. And about 2 weeks later, 2 weeks after they have the discussion, the word Pracharat from the national anthem came up, but without any definition yet. The definition came up a bit later with the idea that, with the twisted idea of social enterprise. really from the very small room discussion. They believe that the idea of Pacharat comes from the idea of Thottan Kun Pandin, that the population of the society has to serve or become the subject of the nation. That is a form of unity that Chanrochanakit kind of mentioned over there. I just want to give more detail on that. The idea of Pacharat itself is Thottan Kun Pandin. So the nation doesn't serve the people, but people have to serve the nation itself. And they sell this idea to some kids, just yet later on to the army, and like we know now, that's what I would like to add on.
Okay, thank you very much. Any other comments or adding comments or discussions?
You can turn off the live thing and then probably people can speak.